Tim, go ahead.
Okay, the next item is the 2017 budget, and every year at the October meeting, I get the pleasure, or the municipal manager before me gets the pleasure of introducing the 2017 budget. I'm going to just go over the highlights, spend about 10, 11, 12 minutes explaining the 2017 budget. Council has a copy, and a copy will be available on our website. It'll be available at the library. It'll be available at my office beginning tomorrow, and anybody can go onto the website, print it off. It's 100 and some pages long. The budget this year for 17 is $31,360,868. That's approximately 0.93%, just below 1% less than last year's budget. And the public hearings will be on October 27th. Under the Home Rule Charter, we're required to have 2 public hearings. And council, if they want to have public meetings after that, that's at their discretion. If they want to discuss more items among themselves, it's an open public meeting, and anybody from the public can attend. And the second public hearing will be November the 3rd during the council work session, which will begin at 6:30 to give us a little bit more of a half an hour before the work session at that time. The reason for the decrease of almost 1% in this year's budget is outlined on revenue and expenditure that I have outlined in my budget message, and council can look at those at their leisure. And if anybody on council or even in the public wants to ask me questions after I go through this for 10 minutes, I'm more than happy to take their questions, okay? Even though this is approximate net reduction in the 2017 general budget of $294,175 as compared to the 2016 budget, it's a slight 0.93% decrease from the previous budget year. But council and the general public must recognize that expenditures are continuing to weigh on, the budget is continuing to weigh on budget expenditures, those being health benefits, which are going up 8.5%. Now, last year, our health benefit, they went up 17%, so that is less of an increase this year. And also our pension obligations and also the OPEB, the other post-employment benefits. The estimated revenues and proposed expenditures are outlined in the budget message. Joe, do you want to put up the first graph? Thank you. This graph right here is our budget revenues, and this is in council's copy of the budget. This is the revenues, and it might be difficult for the people to see here in the audience and at home. Okay, but the red part is our general government revenues. Now, most of this is your tax, your real estate tax, your wage tax, which is your earned income tax, and that takes up approximately 87% of the revenue coming into the municipality. Other revenue, public safety, which is for tickets that the police officers write, that takes up about 1.3%. We get liquid fuels money, which is about $817,000. That takes up about 2.6%. Also, there is the pink part there. That has to do with our fund balance in our transfers within the revenue. So as you can see, taxes, obviously, your real estate tax, which we take in about $9 million in real estate tax, and we take in a little over $7 million in wage tax. Those are the big revenue generators for the municipality. Put up the next chart, Joe, the expenditures. Okay, the yellow area, which is the most, which is 40%, that's public safety. Now, you have to understand, public safety is not only police. Public safety is also the volunteer fire department, and it is also the building inspection and also the code enforcement. So there's a lot of people that don't understand what public safety takes in a lot just besides the police department. And that takes in 40%. The public works will take up 23% of the expenditures, and debt service will take up over 10%. That says 10.1%, but it's probably closer to 11%. In general government, which is administration, is about 12.9%, close to 13%.
The message.
Okay, so that's just an overview of the expenditures. Okay, moving along here. Significant monetary events for 2016 are the completion of the negotiations of four union labor contracts, which includes the Act 111 Police Interest Arbitration Award, and the changing of health benefit insurance carriers to reduce costs, which I just mentioned. We didn't have as large increase this year. and the shared purchasing of street cameras to enhance municipal security, and also a noticeable increase in commercial development. One of the main recent past fiscal challenges for Monroeville was overcome the habit of utilizing the fund balance to make up the revenue deficiencies. The 2016 budget called for a utilization of a fund balance of $740,588, which I'm pleased to report it is not necessary to spend before now and the end of the year unless we have some kind of unexpected expenditure. So we're not going to have to use that fund balance. And I'll talk a little bit more about the fund balance as we move on. Council adopted a policy to maintain a minimum of a 10% unassigned fund balance, and we're still moving ahead with that. Before we used to have, about 8 years ago, about a 20% unassigned fund balance to put in a reserve, and it was knocked back down to 5%, or excuse me, 7.5%. We've brought it back up to 10%. So the fund balance for the municipality is doing a little bit better. As mentioned above, the infrastructure, which I skipped over that part a little bit. As mentioned above, the infrastructure of the municipality, roads, stormwaters, pipes, traffic lights, parks and recreation assets, vehicles and buildings, is aging. It is critical that these deteriorating assets of the municipality are addressed in the very near future. The deterioration of these capital items will only get more expensive as time passes. Also, the ill effects of the problems will result in a decreased property values and population and the overall quality of the municipality in 2014. Also in with the capital, that discussing with Chief Cole, for instance, is moving our radio systems for VHF to UHF, which is going to cost a lot of money too into the future. That's another capital item that has to be looked at as we move on here. In 2014, the approach I recommended to Council for the 5-year capital improvement program was to begin a transfer of $1 million from the general fund to the capital improvement fund. This approach would replace the policy of exclusively financing capital items through bond issues. This strategy would retire existing debt without having to incur new debt and enhance the municipality's bond rating. Staff began the steps to implement this policy in 2015, but the $1 million transfer from the general fund to the capital improvement fund in the future will not prove adequate to address these needed improvements. An adequate stream of income is needed to update fixed assets in the municipality. It must be recognized that the municipality did not pave any roads this year. The capital improvement program could not sustain it. In lieu of paving, the municipality adopted a road preservation program which entailed tar and chip and a fog seal program. A fog seal is a light application of diluted, slow-setting asphalt emulsion to the surface of an aged pavement surface. Albeit this is a sound philosophy in extending the life of roads that otherwise would not receive attention, it is still an indicator that the capital improvement program is in dire need of funding. That is why I'm recommending to Council to seriously begin considering a $1 million general tax increase, which would bring in $2.3 million to be used exclusively under ordinance for the Capital Improvement Fund. This will afford the community a steady stream of funds for roads, vehicles, traffic lights, park and recreation, and also, as I mentioned, law enforcement equipment. The projections are for the increase let me back up a little bit. Another continuing fiscal challenge of the municipality is the legacy costs for retirees. We have a lot of municipal employees who have retired over the years, and when they retire, they get health benefits. But that's going to stop because when people have been hired after 2005, they do not get that benefit anymore. But that's not going to stop until about the year 2026, and then those people who retire will not get that benefit. And we have what is called an OPEB fund that funds that, at least partially, those retiree benefits. So that fund is going to continue to have a liability more so before it gets better. Currently, the municipality pays health care for 106 retirees and 122 active employees. And further, this has to be stated beginning this year. This has to be stated according to GASB statement. GASB is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and they have a statement called 74 and 75, which means that this liability has to be stated on our balance sheet, which means we have a liability of $24 million on our balance sheet because of the OPEB fund. 3 years ago, we had to put our pension liability on the balance sheets. Before that, governments didn't have to do that. Now they do, just like the private sector. Okay, and that affects your bond rating. But everybody across the country has to do that now. Okay, as council can see, the revenue discussion as the difference between the 2016 budget and the 2017 budget and the percentage change is outlined. In the difference, we'll be taking in projected about $344,000 more in a $31.5 million budget, a little bit more money, and that's due to a little bit more real estate tax, wage tax, and also business tax, which I'll talk about a little bit later. As I mentioned, the largest revenue enhancement is the real estate tax. That is proposed to remain at 4 mills, and that is, we'll take in about $8.8 million, and a projected increase on that is about $77,000. Wage tax, which is earned income tax, projected increase of about $180,000, and a total about $7.1 million there. The mercantile and business privilege tax, the tax office has done a good job of auditing in doing that. And I'm going to read a little bit about this. The mercantile tax is for wholesale and retail vendors or dealers in goods, wares, and merchandise, and operators of restaurants, and any other place where food or beverages are sold. All other persons doing business within a municipality, primary service providers, but not limited thereto, are subject to the business privilege tax. These two business taxes are self-assessing. And in other words, you have gross income, you have to report it, and you're taxed on it. But without the audit procedures in place, there's no guarantee if and when a business will make a payment or if the payment will be accurate. The economic climate nationally and locally impacts the decision when preparing the budget. With so many variables, determining future tax collections is challenging to gauge. Monroeville continues to be blessed with a strong business quarter within Western Pennsylvania region. It must be noted that since the audit program was rejuvenated in September of 2014, business tax collections have increased substantially. The increase in 2015 was not expected to continue in 2016, but as indicated below, and everybody will be able to take a look at this afterwards, it has leveled off. We started in 2014. We hired a tax auditor, and we have brought in, and council can see from the collections from 2015 and 2016, as of August 31st, we brought in $470,000 in additional, and then this year we brought in an extra $236,000, which that shows the delinquents are now compartmentalized into the regular collection of delinquents, so the delinquents are going down because now they're being collected in among the regular collections. Okay, so we're budgeted to collect about $150,000 more in mercantile tax and $40,000 on business privilege tax. Moving ahead on the delinquent, and as I was talking about, we have brought in since January 1st, 2015, an additional $1 million in business and mercantile tax since the auditor has been hired. So that is a good reason, which the next section I'll get to, why our general fund reserve in the general fund is doing better. Talking about the general fund reserve, the 2016 unassigned fund balance is estimated at $8.4 million. It has been noted that this additionally represents money owed to other funds to the general fund, and it's not precisely the cash on hand in the general fund, which come December 31st will be approximately $4.8 million. This is an increase from the 2015 balance of about $700,000. And the business privilege, the delinquent business privilege tax, is a large reason for that. However, the 2017 fund balance is estimated at $4.8 million. Over the past 2 years, the fund balance of the general fund has grown healthier. Even though $504,262 has been budgeted for 2017 in the balance reserve, it will be minimized by the transfers from the OPEB fund, which I'll discuss a little bit later. Joe, do you want to bring up that one bar graph, which shows a little bit of that? This is a bar graph right here of revenues and expenditures per capita. And if you look on that, approximately in 2011, where the blue is the expenditures and the reds are the revenue, you can see that we had a lot more expenditures than revenues. But as time marched on, you can see where our revenues start to outgrow our expenditures. And a large part of that is also we had a tax increase in 2014. But not only because of that, it's because of the business tax that has been collected, and it's also because of the department heads and myself monitoring the budget a little bit more and counting the nickels and making sure we have a decent fund balance. Now, that's not to be confused about what I talked about with capital item. Our capital fund needs a steady stream of income. We're taking $1 million out of the general fund and putting in the capital. $1 million doesn't go as far as it used to. We need twice that much at least for a capital program every year. Okay, thanks, Joe. Okay, expenditures. Council can see the expenditures as compared to last year's budget, and we're looking at an approximate reduction of expenditures of about $432,000. Highlights of expenditures that I've outlined here is we're continuing on with updating the Monroeville Code, and we're in the last phase of that, which will be about $6,000 in 2017. A new item that I have put into the budget is I believe we need a part-time right-to-know officer, okay? This is a new part-time position created due to the increase in right-to-know requests. Under Act 3 of 2008, the right-to-know law request for municipal records has soared. The municipality has received 174 right-to-know requests in 2015 and 143 so far in 2016. The Human Resources Director is also the municipality's right-to-know officer. It has become increasingly difficult for the HR Director to perform his main duties of his position with a significant increase in the right-to-know request. This position will assist the right-to-know officer in research and general administration of the RTK requests. This addition will assure to keep the municipality in timely compliance with the right-to-know law and preserve transparency in our local government. As I stated, we have a health benefit premium increase of 8.5%, which equates to approximately $93,000. The comprehensive plan. We had a kickoff meeting a couple weeks ago, last month, on a comprehensive plan update. We're doing a joint comprehensive plan with Wilkins Township and Churchill Borough. A comprehensive plan basically is an outline of how council wants to see the municipality grow, gentrify, how they want to see the municipality in 5, 10, 20 years. Specifically, the Route 22 corridor, which we share with Wilkins and Churchill. So we're doing this jointly, and we received a grant of $50,000 from the Allegheny County Economic Development. And that's going to cost us, going into 2017, $37,500. The next is the capital expense, which I've outlined in detail for council, and I'll go through this. So council understands where we are with the capital program moving into 2017. The total remaining accrued bond issue money that we have left from bond issues of the past is just over $1 million. And as I just stated, we'll have a transfer of $1 million into the capital improvement fund in 2017, as we've done the last 3 years. That's going to give us approximately just over $2 million for capital items in 2017. Proposed capital items for 2017 is road paving. I've upped that from $250,000, which isn't nearly enough, which we've done the last 2 years. I've upped that to $500,000 because we need that. Refuse truck, $190,000. A backhoe, $90,000. The grant match for the Green Light Go, which was delayed this year to next year, $120,000. 3 police vehicles, $174,000. And also IT equipment, which we haven't purchased in the last 2 years, for 18 police desktops, $18,000. Munis module, Munis is our software program, for $85,000, and also computers, printers, and servers for $30,000. Now, about 2 months ago, what we did is we reallocated some money in the bond issues that I was talking about, and that this year came to $401,000. So if you take those two items that I just mentioned and add them up, that's $1.6 million approximately that will be spent moving into 2017 and 2017 moving forward. We also have the continuing lease payments that we've leased public works vehicles and police vehicles over the last 2 years. That is $318,000. And our total assets that we've leased, including 2 fire trucks, is about $1.8 million, and we're paying over $300,000 for those leases. So your total capital expenditures for 16 and 17 are about $1.6 million. And your total lease payments for 2017, as I mentioned, will be $318,000, which is a total of $1.9 million. And that leaves us in a projection at the end of 2017 on December 31st, about $100,000 in our capital improvement fund. And that's moving into 18, which isn't nearly enough. Now, in 18, we transfer $1 million every July 1st into the capital. But we need, this is why I am mentioning the council and the public, we need a steady stream of income for our roads, our traffic lights, law enforcement equipment, computers, all capital items. We need some kind of steady stream of income. We can't keep floating bonds like has been done in the past because our debt service is too high. Okay, continuing on, the OPEB fund. The OPEB fund, as I talked about, is going to be funded a little bit different this year. We have been taking money, putting money into the OPEB fund and taking money out of the OPEB fund in order to pay for the retiree health benefits. And what we talked about on the OPEB committee is to see if the general fund can sustain a little bit more of the retiree health benefits. Because what we want to do is we want to see our OPEB fund grow. We have about $5.1 million in the OPEB fund right now, and we want to see it grow through investments. So what we're going to do, I only have budgeted not $1 million to take out of the OPEB fund, but only $700,000. And we're going to see if the general fund can sustain a little bit more. And we're going to rely on our investment advisor, Pierce Park, to tell us when it would be a good time to take the money out of there, because obviously you don't want to take it out when the stock market is doing bad. So I've talked about this with the OPEB committee. They're aware of it. I'm mentioning it to the rest of council and the public. So what we're going to do is we're not going to transfer money out of there or transfer money in there every July 1st as we have been. We're going to do it on a piecemeal basis, taking money out and putting money in on a piecemeal basis as per the advisement of Pierce Park. Okay, the MMO, which is the minimum municipal obligation, which we just passed the distribution for 2016, the money that goes into the pension plans. We put about approximately $3.2 million into our pension plans every year. And council just passed a resolution this evening to do that, to distribute that money. And for next year, for 2017, we're going to have, for the uniformed, $2,157,350, and for the non-uniform pension plan, about $1.2 million. And the last item on here is the fund balance analysis. As I mentioned, at the end of last year, we had about $7.1 million in our unassigned fund balance. Revenues and expenditures, roughly revenues taking in by the end of 16 about $31.5 million, and expenditures, I think we're going to take in less expenditures than we've budgeted this year. It's shaping up that way. We're in the beginning stages of the last quarter, but it appears to me that we're heading to take in, not expend as much money as we have budgeted. And I outlined that. That's why we're not going to have to use the fund balance that we budgeted last year, the $700,000 fund balance. Usage of the fund balance estimated in 2016, as I just mentioned, zero. December 31st, 2016, estimated unassigned fund balance is about $8.4 million, and then our 10% reserve will be about $3.15 million, and our proposed usage of the 2017 is about $480,000, which will end up at the end of 17 approximately $7.8 million of an unassigned fund balance. And later on in the budget here, council can look at the accomplishments of the department heads and also the goals and objectives for 2017 of the department heads. And last but not least, I want to thank all the department heads, because this is not an individual person that puts this document together. And I say this every year, but I mean it sincerely. This is a total team effort putting this 150-page document together from all the department heads and the finance department. And specifically, I want to thank Darlene Cole. I want to thank Jill Garofalo, Tina Mueller, Joe Sedlak, and those 4 people in general for helping out on the budget, because it's a matter of everybody putting in their numbers and in a lot of personnel, a lot of spreadsheets that go into this document. So I'm done unless anybody has any questions.
Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, there are going to be some public hearings on the budget where you'll be able to get it in more depth on the goals and the accomplishments, and then certainly your time to ask questions. Thank you, Tim.